And welcome to the CuppaChino Club's social TV channel. We are on day 13 talking about the impact of COVID-19 on the business community and how we are dealing with it and just doing a general checkup and see how everyone is doing. I'm your host, Bridgetti Lambanda from Cape Town in South Africa, and a warm welcome to our live audiences on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. Glad to have you joining us, and a huge big shout out and welcome to my co-host Viola. Viola, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Welcome to all our guests. Day 13, can you believe it? It's actually seems to be going quite quickly now that we're sort of going downhill. And I think everybody's anticipating the big announcement on whether or not we're going to go into a phase 2 lockdown.
I know, absolutely. I get the sense we're starting to, I know that levels of anxiety are increasing, looking
Yes,
at people's posts, for example, because reality has set in. We had that first week, as we said yesterday, where people were kind of just going through that phase of what the heck happened. And
correct.
now we're kind of in the phase, okay, we are here. How do we put one foot ahead of the other? And a huge big concern for businesses that I'm starting to see is what do we do next? We are here
Correct.
now. What do we do next? How do we access funding? And I think a big concern for businesses right now is the fact that the applications for funding has closed because
Correct.
they were so flooded with applications. So that's a huge concern for people right now. It's kind of everything's on ice
Yes,
and we're waiting for the next phase to open if there's a next phase. So I think,
correct.
everyone's the small business now kind of got their ears glued. But just before we get into that discussion,
Yes,
we decided we're going to do something completely wild and different because this is not only just impacting on us as adults and as businessmen and businesswomen, it's also impacting on our children. And we
yes,
decided that we need to just talk about that sometime.
yes.
Shall we just quickly talk about our plans so let everyone know what we're planning to do?
Yes, yes, please. On the Wednesday, the 15th, we're actually going to have a show with kids. And I have my able bodied representative here for a quick preview on what that's possibly going to be like. To my audience, please allow me to welcome my son Shay, who I speak about all the time. He's joining us on the show live today. But I have said that because he would probably have to conduct this mini interview because, of course, with me, he just probably won't answer anything. And he's already looking at his Nintendo. So if you can just focus over here for a second, dude. Thank you.
Welcome to the show, Shay. We hear so much about you all the time, so we're absolutely delighted to see you on screen. How's it been going these past few days? Have you been able to keep occupied?
Have you been
What's your
able to keep up?
favorite?
Oh, sorry, I've got headphones on. I'll share them with him. Sorry, Brigitte, just asking that question again. Sorry about that.
So sorry, bad mom.
Mm,
Shay, how have you been keeping occupied the last few days? Has it been fun? Has it been tough? How's
It's
it been
been
feeling for
fun.
you?
Lovely.
It's been fun. I've been playing video games.
Also, have you done any schoolwork, may I ask? At
Yes.
all? Have you done any schoolwork?
Mm. Yes, I have.
Yes,
And
and he's got this
how's
terrible mother that forces him to do schoolwork. She's such a
Yes.
horrible, horrible woman.
Mm-hmm.
mommy's been keeping tabs on you, has she?
Yes. Yes, she has.
Okay, I'm not going to ask you. I'm going to ask you only one more question. How do you find the online school as opposed to going to school with your friends? Do
I
you
have.
like it or you
I.
don't like it?
I like it a lot.
Very
Why?
nice. Shay, how,
Why do you
how
like it?
old are you?
I'm 10, turning 11.
Big boy.
Mm-hmm. Well, Shay, tell us why do you like online school so much? Because you really like it. I know you really enjoy it. But what are the perks?
When you've finished all your work, the teacher says you can do whatever you want on your computer. So I just choose to play online video games.
Oh, wow. And of course, you know what? In every house, what the teacher says is law, right? Teachers rule.
Yeah. So we're very excited. We're going to get a few kids online for Wednesday, the 15th. And we probably are going to find out a little bit more and have a little greater insight into what they experienced over the last few days, having mom and dad home and all the siblings home. So it's going to be really, really nice to get their impressions and their suggestions on how to actually make things better. Now, Chanel says, Chanel wants to know from you, Shay, what is it that you miss the most about not going to school?
Getting to do PE and seeing all my friends.
Okay.
I think Shay, it's not just you. I think all the adults in the room feel the same way, because I think I've seen a lot of adults saying, you know, they miss the opportunity or the ability to go out and have a jog, and meet up, you know, for a cup of coffee, face to face. So it's not only you, but we look forward to chatting to you again on the 15th. I think you said, Mom, isn't it? 15th.
15th,
Yes.
15th, Wednesday the 15th, the day before the lockdown, or this phase of the lockdown ends. So we're quite excited. Thank you very much, Shay.
It's a pleasure.
Okay.
There you go. Good night.
Bye.
See why I have my hands full. He's busy. But thanks very
Well,
much.
we look forward to his insights on the 15th, and I think we're going to invite 2 or 3 of his friends,
Yes.
just so we get a diverse opinion of how our little ones are dealing with the effects of the lockdown. So as we were saying earlier, I think businesses are starting to get anxious because, you know, they're not getting access to funding.
Yes.
You know, a huge amount was made available to businesses, and I think the fact that we've kind of exceeded the limit of what they could cope with for now just shows the extent of the impact of COVID-19 on business. Now,
Yes.
of significance here is that funding was only made available with very strict criteria. You know, you had to be up to date with your taxes. You've got to be a registered business. You have to have been in good financial standing with the banks before this happened. You must be up to date with all your paperwork as a business. But now, falling through the cracks here is a huge sector in our business community, the informal business sector.
Correct.
Because I'm not aware that there's any assistance to the informal sector, and that's a huge market of people that are impacted. And in fact, these are people that may not have access to loans in the ordinary way of business, but they feed their families. They contribute towards the economy in a large way. They provide goods and services to you and I. And this is a huge sector that's fallen through the cracks, that's not catered for, and that really concerns me.
Yeah. So there's that. I know that there was a lot of stuff being done for the spaza shops, for example, but there again, the criteria were, I mean, I think the criteria was quite onerous. You needed to have access, so people needed to be able to pay with their credit cards, I guess. So you needed to have credit card machines, which means that you have to have a formal bank account, which means that you have to be registered with the banks. They expected, I do think that they expected them to be registered with SARS, which a lot of our spaza shops are not. So yeah, there were lots of onerous, sort of criteria, and I think unrealistic criteria when you think of the informal sector. You know, these guys are just not, it's lifestyle business. They're really just trying to feed their families. They haven't registered. They're not paying UIF. They're not paying PAYE. They're not doing any of those things. Those are the realities of it. And, just trying to help them. But there's another sector of the market that we're not talking about and that are not able to really benefit from these things. And that's the NGO, NPO sector. And yet this is really the sector we depend on so much in terms of assisting with communities and assisting with the larger, the part of the population that's not really considered These are the individuals that are not connected, where social distancing is a challenge, where food and water is a challenge, where electricity is a challenge. And yet the interface between those individuals and government and business is the NGO, NPO sector. I know that Ian Taylor is doing a lot to try and get themselves ready to deal with all of that. But I do believe that there's the NGO, NPO sector almost needs to be prioritized at this point in time in terms of funding and, just to build capacity with those entities, because they are really the entities that are helping us push all the work that needs to be done in our communities.
Actually, I was on a business conference call just prior to the show, and Tim of Westgrow was one of the speakers there, and they did mention that in fact NPOs and NGOs can apply for the funding.
Okay. Okay.
So they do have access to the funding, except like right now applications are closed. They've actually shut down the website, so you can't even put in an application right now. So if you weren't first in at the door, and by the sounds of it, it was kind of, when we reopen, you got to be quick on the button.
Yes.
So it means that it's indicative of the large community that needs to be served. And if you're not fast on the button, you're going to miss out on the bus, which kind of means a lot of people are going to fall by the wayside. So what happens to that community? How are they going to be served? How are they going to be helped? Is it just a matter of like, if you can get in there quickly, then, you can get access to the funding. But if you're not, is it just a matter of tough for you?
Yeah. And the other thing, Brigitte, a lot of banks, a lot of insurance companies, the financial sector are offering a lot of, I think, sort of free periods, what do they call it when you don't have to, you have a little
payment holiday.
Window, payment holiday.
Yeah.
But what we do need to do is look at the terms and conditions of those payment holidays and make sure that you are able to live with the consequences if anything does go wrong during that payment window. When you do have that payment window, payment holiday, just make sure that you are still covered for the things that you are anticipating you are covered for, and that payment window isn't just to keep the policy so that it doesn't lapse. I think those are some of the things that we're starting to talk about. I know that Debbie, who's our guest for the show tomorrow, has also got a lot of insight around estates at this time, wills and estates, and how this whole COVID-19 crisis has actually affected that, so it's going to be an interesting discussion tomorrow also.
Oh, absolutely. I think, there's so many facets and sectors to the impact of COVID-19 that I don't think we've even scratched the surface in our conversations. And one thing that, we haven't talked about is the impact of COVID-19 on the essential services. I think one cannot give enough praise to the people out on the front lines. And I think first and foremost, the first thing that comes to mind, and rightly so, are our medics. So a huge shout out to our health professionals that are there, and especially the nurses, who are usually right there on the front line, dealing with it. So big shout out to them. But then something else that came through today that I thought was also significant, is other people that are part of the emergency services that we may not consider, and something that we do to get out of the house. It's like our get out of jail free ticket. Is to go to the supermarket. I don't know what most families are doing. If it's kind of like a lottery ticket, it's your turn today and my turn tomorrow. Well, hopefully it's not that often. It shouldn't be. It really mustn't be, something you do every day. But how do you decide? Tell us in the comments, as families, how do you decide who goes to shopping? Or do you have a designated person that does the store run for you? And how do you plan your shopping list? Let us know. It's part of being able to work from home effectively. That is something you've got to take care of. It's not going to take care of itself.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, I am unfortunately the designated person in our home. It's the most frustrating. First of all, it's the most frustrating exercise, because no matter where you go, there's queues, and you have to stand in these queues. And the whole reason there's a queue is because you're supposed to be promoting social distancing, but everybody in that queue is like 50 centimeters away from your face. Everybody stands
Wow.
so close to you. So at the front of the store, at the entrance of the store, they've got those little dots or little red lines that say this is the sort of where you need to be standing. But that's like 5 people out of the store. But if the queue extends further than that, they leave it up to everybody to just use their common sense to practice social distancing in the queue, but they don't. So unfortunately with me, I'm always the one that gets this, the short end of the stick, and I constantly have to go like, I'm not going to the store again, for a very long time. So give me your lists. And of course, as it is, as soon as you get home, the very next day, there's no cheese, there's no eggs, but I just say, look, we're going to eat what there is until I have to go to the store again. So coming back to the essential workers issue, I think that a shout out actually needs to go to all essential workers. The person in the store who's packing the store, the person in the store behind the queue that has to deal with so many customers and is at such high risk of contamination. If anybody has passed them and they're ill, because they've got to touch what you've touched, they've got to talk to you, they've got to take your credit card, they've got to engage with you. I think a shout out needs to go to those people, and even the people who have to get up and go and work in factories that are making the food, the people that are transporting them to their places of work. There's just like so many like moving parts in terms of the economy now, and all of those moving parts, if you're not locked indoors, you are at risk. And so, yeah, I agree with you. I think that there's, we appreciate so much what our medical staff are doing. They really are, dealing with those who are infected. But I do believe that we have to acknowledge all the South Africans that go out in this crisis to go and offer us services that we have deemed essential. So thank you very much to all of you for doing what you do.
I know, right? And I think there's been a call to action from the people that work in supermarkets, because they're saying, they're also leaving their families behind. They're putting themselves at risk. And by the fact that they're putting themselves at risk, they're putting their families at risk. So they're asking people to please have purpose when they come to the store. Come with a list. Don't walk around the store wondering what to get, or just trying to prolong your stay in the shop. Have your list, come with purpose, get what you need, and get out of the store, and don't use it as an opportunity to come and have a chat show, with friends in the lines, and keep the social distancing. I needed to go to the pharmacy one day, and it was also terrible that, there are some people that just have zero respect for the fact that we need to do physical distancing from one another. And also shout out.
Go ahead.
I also wanted to give a shout out to our cleaning workers. The people that take our rubbish away. It's an essential service, and we may not have given those people the time of day before, but it's been I love the fact that this has been such an equalizing. Out of every crisis, there's something that we learn, and I think it's been such an equalizing experience. Appreciating the people that do work to keep our economy ticking, that we may not have considered before, like the people that fetch our rubbish. They're putting themselves at risk too.
Yeah, and if you're sick, and if you're infected, and even if you're just not feeling well, they're asking you to double bag your rubbish. Just put it into a double bag so that we don't expose them to anything more than they need to be exposed to. And also, if you're going into the supermarket, supermarkets are expected to have sanitizers at their door. Use the sanitizer. There's a sanitizer at the till. Use the sanitizer at the till. It shows the person at that till working there, I respect the fact that you are actually doing such a risky job at the moment. Let me do my bit to make sure that I don't, that I show you that I respect you, and I try not to make you sick. Because a compromised immune system, whether it's the flu, pneumonia, bronchitis, any of those kind of compromised immune systems, put that person at greater risk when it comes to the COVID-19 issue. So I'm really just, I think from just understanding our discussion yesterday about how it's about me looking out for you and you looking out for me, at this time, those are the little things that we can do to show that we actually respect each other.
Oh, absolutely. Another sector that takes, that we need to look at, and I see people talking about more and more, is, how do you, because these are concerns if you're working from home, how am I going to pay my rent at the end of the month? How am I going to pay my bond at the end of the month? Those are also concerns that I see coming through more and more, because if you don't have those things taken care of, you can't do business effectively either. And
Yeah.
those are huge, those are huge concerns. I see that some of the banks are offering relief, and it would seem that the best thing you can do is not to dig your head in the sand about the matter and wait for the end of the month to come.
Yeah.
The advice is, contact your bank now, contact your landlord now, have an understanding, and then make sure that that understanding is put into writing, whether it's a payment holiday or whatever the arrangement is you come to.
Yeah.
Make sure that it's more than a verbal agreement. Make sure that it's been agreed to in writing so that you're all on the same page with regards to how you're going to move forward. Is it a payment holiday? Something else interesting that I saw in that regard was that I think it was the rental board or rental tribunal or something. I'm speak
Yeah.
under correction, but you can find it. It basically was saying that in some instances you can actually ask your landlord to use your down payment deposit. Now, previously, this is an interesting thing because, well, we're in unprecedented, uncharted waters. We've never been in this kind of situation. But for the first time, because they've always said, you may not touch your deposit for whatever reason. It
Yeah.
cannot be utilized during the term of your tenancy or rental period. So it was very interesting for me to see that it was now suggested that you can say to your landlord, use the deposit,
Correct.
at this
Correct.
time. But again,
Correct.
it's unusual, circumstances. And so it would seem that suggestion is now something that actually can be applied at this time.
Yeah. So we do have the press release. The CuppaChino Club sits with a press release that does explain a bit about the rental things. The press release has been confirmed by SAPOA and I need to get this right, the Western Cape Property Development Forum. But so we have that press release. If any of you would like to have it, just put it into the comments and we'll make sure that a copy of it comes to you. But what's interesting is that they're also saying, the landlord needs to, it's up to the discretion of the landlord to use that deposit. And I think it's also going to be just like, how long are you into your lease? If it's like you've got 2 months left and you've taken really good care of the property, the landlord might say, look, let me use the deposit. But they have the right to actually turn it on and say, no, it's going to be negotiation. The same thing with the banks, with your loan. The advice is call your bank, and speak to them and say to them, look, what can we do? So it's about the conversations, and it's about negotiating, and it's about understanding that I'm there for you and you are there for me. It comes back to that sort of same adage all the time. It's that we're going to have to show each other that we respect, that we're all in this together, and we really just need to be there for each other. And where we can show a kindness, do that. Just be kind under this, the circumstances are already as tough as they are. If there's an opportunity to be kind and you can afford it, just express that.
And I think, the big thing is keeping the conversations going and not digging your head in the sand. Have the uncomfortable conversations sooner than later. Talk,
Yes.
Talk to whoever it is that you're doing business with, or whoever you are indebted with. Have the conversation, and then I think it's a two-way street, as you said, and it's saying, if you've got the money, if you've got the means to show kindness both ways, if someone's indebted to you, if you can afford to show the kindness, and offer a payment holiday or a payment arrangement or whatever it is, but the government's just imploring everyone to please show kindness and consideration, because no one is going to walk away from this unscathed.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the one thing I do want to say is that I honestly believe government have really stepped up on this. They've really just done the best that they can under the circumstances. It's uncharted and unprecedented for everybody. It's unprecedented for them as well. I don't think the cabinet, I don't think there's a single minister that if you had asked them, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, how you're going to handle this crisis, that any of them thought that they would have to deal with a crisis of this magnitude. I also think that it's possibly going to get worse before it gets better. We're seeing fluctuations in the economy. We're seeing, predictions about how it's going to affect our economy. We're seeing what it's doing to our currency. So there's a lot of stuff going on at the moment that I think all of us are just like completely gobsmacked by. But the comfort comes in the fact that, we're all in this together. It's not something that you have to deal with on your own. The whole world is dealing with this crisis at the moment. So for Team South Africa, my request is, let's flatten that curve as soon as we can. Stay at home and stay safe. Sanitize as much as you need to sanitize and as much as you can. And under circumstances where water is a scarce resource, just be cognizant and be aware of each other, and just try and practice the social distancing as much as possible.
I think also, as the longer we're going into this period of lockdown, I think we also want to be exceptionally kind to people because of their state of mind that they're in. Not everyone deals with it very well. And
Yes.
it's something we touched on one of the other shows as well, is that the lockdown experience isn't the same for everyone. If you've got a big home and you can walk up and down safely, or if you've got a big property, you can walk up and down very safely to get some form of exercise, that you're not sitting on a chair all day. That's all good and well. But what about people living in very, very small apartments and who have mental issues that need to be, that need to get out of the house? What if you trapped in the house with someone and your relationship isn't in a very good place? So, if people do snap, I'm seeing people, I look at people on groups, for example,
Yes.
people may be starting to vent in a manner that they've never done before. And I think
Correct.
just understand that people may be exploding or using that platform as a means of simply venting because they don't know how else to
Absolutely.
vent. So just be
Absolutely.
understanding, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I heard about, I think it was yesterday, also is the fact that people, we all sort of talking about social distancing, as in people, everybody's sort of coming to your house and you quarantine together and you're stuck together. But there are a lot of people that are doing this on their own. And a lot of people are doing it on their own, not because they don't have people that love them and care about them, but they, again, are essential workers who are saying, you know what, I'm not going to come home. I'll get a flat somewhere, or I'll stay in a hostel somewhere, or I'll stay at hospital because I don't want to put my family at risk. So, especially in situations where there's just a couple, that your partner is left alone at home for these days because you don't want to risk that person. So, it's so many people are making so many sacrifices for us. And we need to show those kindnesses where we can show them. So, I'm really sort of stuck on that at the moment. There's just so much going on and people making so many sacrifices for us as South Africans. And we really need to applaud them and show our appreciation by just being kind to each other.
Oh, absolutely. I want to give a quick shout out to Gospel, who's watching us from the UK.
Hi.
And just on that topic, Viola, I've heard so many stories of our medical staff that are working on the front lines who are currently living in their garage. They've turned their garage into their home for fear of exposing their spouses and their children. So please, again, as we end the show now, stay at home. Don't, only go to the supermarket, have a planned visit, have a list. Do not use the supermarket as an opportunity to get out of jail free and use it as your social club. It's not a social club. Those people are also risking their lives for you and I in the same way that the medical staff are, and all the other essential workers as well.
Yeah.
So also just finally, again, please know that in South Africa, if you share fake news or misinformation or disinformation about the COVID-19, you are breaking the law. You are liable for prosecution. We've had people that has been arrested for sharing fake news on social media. If
Yeah.
you are the admin of a group in social media, understand that that puts you at risk. So show kindness to admins. Do not share fake news. Double check before you hit that share button and pause.
Absolutely, absolutely. Brigitte, thank you. It was a very good opportunity to just, I think, talk through a few things, and it's gonna get tough. The next few days are going to be tough for a lot of people, and just remember that our thoughts are with you, and strength to everybody. And I do think one of the things I want to say, sort of in my closing comments, is try and just get yourself right mentally. And it's little things. Just try and get up and make up the bed and read a good book or watch a good movie, or just move around the house or the apartment and do a few sit-ups and push-ups. You'll find you'll feel amazed. In some extreme cases, just get into the shower. Have a shower. Just get up there and just get ready mentally to face the day. I think the risk of sort of, especially people who are prone to depression, to sort of sit in bed now and stress about rent and income and start getting depressed about that, the risk of that happening now is so, so high. And the other thing that we're starting to do is just call people. If you're alone, pick up the phone and take the time to catch up with everybody. If you can afford it, do WhatsApp calls to some of the people you haven't spoken to for a long time and just catch up, just to have that human contact and that human interaction. Don't sit in your apartment or your flat or your place where you're quarantining and not talk to anybody. Just pick up the phone and call.
Absolutely. With that, thank you so much for
Thank
joining us
you.
live. Thank you for sharing the show. Stay safe, stay at home. We'll see you
Yes,
back
please.
again tomorrow. I'm
Thank you
Brigitte
so
Lambana
much.
from Cape Town. Bye, bye everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.